The janitor's mop bucket squeaked against the tiled floor, but his ears weren't listening to the noise of the empty building. Instead, they froze on a sound drifting out from a dusty old radio left behind by a student. He dropped the mop, heart pounding, because the song playing through those crackling speakers was his. Every lyric, every chord, every broken piece of his heart woven into melody, it was the song he had written years ago in a tiny apartment, late at night, while his baby girl slept in her crib. But he had never recorded it for anyone. It had been stolen. For a moment he couldn't breathe, staring at the broom in his hand as though it could explain how his private pain was being sung on the radio for millions to hear. His name wasn't mentioned. Another singer's voice carried his words. Another man's face was being praised for the raw truth he had poured from his soul. The janitor, a single dad barely making ends meet, had always buried the dream of being a songwriter deep beneath the weight of bills, exhaustion, and judgmental stares. But hearing his stolen song lit something inside him, a fire that had been dead for far too long. He rushed home after his shift, still wearing his faded uniform, and his little daughter ran to him, arms wide. She was 6 now, bright-eyed and full of questions. She tugged on his sleeve, asking why his hands were trembling. He hesitated, then sat her on his lap and told her the truth, that once upon a time, her dad had dreamed of being a musician. He had written songs, stories of pain and hope, but one had been taken from him. She looked at him with those innocent eyes and whispered, "Then you have to fight for it, Daddy. Don't let them take your voice." Her words became his fuel. He dug out the old notebook where he had scribbled verses, the broken guitar missing a string, the dusty USB drive where he had saved his recordings. And then he did something terrifying, he uploaded a video. Sitting in their small living room, with peeling wallpaper behind him and his daughter curled beside him, he sang his truth. No polish, no fancy effects, just his raw voice, cracked with emotion, carrying words the world had already heard, but this time, from the man who had written them. At first, barely anyone watched. A few likes. A few comments. Some people said he sounded just like the real artist, not knowing he was the real one. But then, the video began to spread. One person shared it. Then another. Then a local blogger picked up his story, questioning how a janitor could sing so powerfully, with lyrics so personal, that they felt like they were written from his own scars. Within days, thousands had seen it. Within weeks, the truth started cracking open. People began comparing dates. They noticed the timestamps on his old uploads, the way his notebook pages matched word for word with the hit song. Then came the call, the one that changed everything. A radio host invited him to perform live. His hands shook as he s. The days after his live performance felt like a blur. Reporters showed up at the school where he worked, cameras flashing in the dim hallways he had polished for years. Some of the teachers looked at him with awe, others with disbelief. How could the man who quietly scrubbed gum from desks and picked up forgotten lunch trays be the same man whose voice was now being celebrated across the nation? But he didn't let the sudden attention change him. Every morning, he still packed his daughter's lunch, tied her shoes, and reminded her to be brave, be kind. One evening, after a long shift, he opened his phone to see an email that made his heart stop. It wasn't from a journalist or a local radio station. It was from a world-renowned producer, someone who had discovered legendary artists. The message was simple: "Your story moved me. Your voice is rare. Let's talk." His daughter squealed with joy when he read it aloud, jumping into his arms and shouting, "Daddy, this is it. This is your big chance." But with opportunity came fear. The last time he trusted the music industry, someone had stolen from him. He had spent years learning to live with that wound. Now, he worried, what if it happened again? What if this world of contracts, lawyers, and bright lights swallowed him whole? Late at night, sitting on the edge of his bed, he whispered to himself, "I'm not doing this for fame. I'm doing this for her, for us." The next few months were a test of courage. He recorded in a real studio for the first time, his calloused janitor's hands clumsy on the guitar strings, but his heart steady. He worked with people who respected him, people who promised to protect his voice. Slowly, his songs began reaching more people, songs about fatherhood, about nights spent working 2 jobs, about holding on to hope when the world feels cold. His authenticity became his power. Listeners didn't just hear music, they heard truth. Then came a night he would never forget. He was invited to perform at a charity concert in front of thousands. As he walked onto the stage, he felt his nerves threaten to undo him, until he spotted her in the front row. His daughter, wearing the same little necklace he had given her years ago, was waving and shouting, "Go, Daddy." He gripped the microphone, closed his eyes, and sang not just for the crowd, but for her, for the little girl who had been his reason to keep fighting.